Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into Console Command Episode 4. This is, how many months has it been, Hippo? I've lost track of time in this pseudo quarantine of mine.
I'd say it's about 69 months, maybe 420, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that. But it's been so long that we forgot how to run the podcast, so we decided, screw it, let's just try something different. So instead of getting two 30 something, year old males online telling you about video game news that you already know about and bitching about things that you already probably are bitching about, we are going to do something different where we do kind of a book club sort of thing where one of us will alternate each week and pick a game. We'll play it. Whether or not it's to completion is up to the individual, but we'll play as much of it as we can. And at each podcast, we're going to talk about said game. And Hippo picked a pretty good one. I think it's a good one, at least. We'll get into that. Picked a good one for our very first episode of this new format, Mega Man.
Yeah, and I thought it would be a nice, easy game to start out with for our first time taking this book club format that we're trying to do with the podcast. Shorter game, cool, retro, iconic Mega Man. Well, I've got my own thoughts on the game. We'll discuss that as we move forward in the podcast. But every other week, it's every other week that we're going to be doing this, right, Alex?
Yeah, every other week. So
Yeah,
this is we're aiming for bi-weekly before, but with this, I believe we'll actually be able to commit to that.
absolutely. And at the end of every podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of say what game we're going to be going for next week. And if you guys want to follow along, definitely feel free. We'll be peeping chat as we kind of go through. And if we see any points that come up, we might bring them up too.
Indeed. But yeah, Mega Man. This is something that I played very briefly way back in the day. I think before we really get into the game itself, we'll just briefly go over first just our exposure to the series. I think that'd be a good place to start. For me, one of my earliest gaming memories was at my grandparents' house, and we never had an NES growing up, at least not until a bit later on. I had the Super Nintendo first, but my uncle had the NES, and one day we were over at my grandparents' house. He had his Nintendo there, and I'm pretty sure it was Mega Man 4 because I have this vivid memory of purple and white backgrounds on the stage, and of course you don't forget Mega Man. He's an iconic character, so he sticks out in my memory for sure. But that's the only thing that really that I can recall from that memory is just Skullman stage, purple and white shit. That's the first video game memory I think I can recollect. But my first proper exposure to the franchise was Mega Man X. That's the first Mega Man game I owned, and then Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge on Game Boy, I guess, is technically the first Mega Man game I own, since it's a X is a different series. What about you?
So, first Mega Man game that I played, I want to say, I was talking to you about this last night. I want to say it was Mega Man 3. I do remember being able to slide in the game, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
And I remember a blue and white kind of blocky, blobby stage. I think you said that was Gemini Man stage, it sounded like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Gemini Man.
Yeah, so that was the first time I played it. It was back on the Nintendo, the original Nintendo. My brother had the NES, had Mega Man 2 and 3, but I think he loaned 2 to someone else because I don't remember playing 2 until I emulated it. I didn't play a whole lot of I didn't really like Mega Man growing up because it's hard. I was a child, so I
Mhm.
never beat it. Then once we started getting into emulation or learning about emulation and doing emulators and stuff like that, I played the first Mega Man, absolutely hated it when I first played it, but it wasn't too bad kind of moving forward. Like Mega Man 2, we had Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo, the actual Super Nintendo. Then I think I finally like played and sat down and tried to actually beat the original Mega Mans once the Legacy Collection came out on the GameCube. I think I
Mhm.
had it on the GameCube where the controls were awful. Like the buttons were kind of in weird places with the weird button configuration on the GameCube controller. It
Right.
was not the best.
Not to mention the D-pad is not the best for platformers in that controller.
And then After that, I got it on the PS2, which was much better.
Yeah, that's actually where I have it. And I tried to play that as my sort of, I guess, note taking research purposes for this, but that collection has aged nowhere near as well as 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 I would have thought. So I just went back to Legacy Collection on Steam. Yeah, that's where we were first, both first exposed to the series. I believe that X and Dr. Wily's Revenge, those were the only two Mega Man games I owned for a pretty long time. Like for the majority of my childhood, those are the only ones I really knew about. Um, yeah, Mega Man came out in December of 1987 in both Japan and North America. Surprisingly, for some reason I thought they were spaced out a bit farther. Unlike Europe, they didn't get it until 1989. The poor guys, or maybe they should be grateful they didn't get it until then. And
Yeah.
honestly, I like this game, but what do you think about it, Hippo?
The game in general,
Yeah.
or Mega Man in general?
Well, I think we both. I am a bigger Mega guy, but you
You are a
still
Mega
enjoy
guy.
you. Thank you. But you enjoy the series, yeah?
Yeah, I enjoy the series. I think my favorite Mega Man game from like I guess, would you say it like it's the regular Mega Man games? Because there's X and all the other ones.
Yeah, they are a different series.
Yeah. So my favorite from the base Mega Man series is Mega Man 2, but I think it's because it's the one that I've just played the most, had the most fun with, have the best memories with. Mega Man 1, on the other hand, I've got 2 differing opinions on it, but I think it's based on me playing this on the Legacy collection on the Switch.
Hmm.
So, with the Switch, it had CPU boost on, like, made it a turbo mode, gave it a turbo mode, so, like, it's supposed to have better performance. So, whenever you use, like, Electroman's weapon in the original, there's just the game just stops, it lags
Yeah,
like crazy. With the turbo mode turned on, that doesn't happen. Now, I don't know if it affects anything else because I was looking online and I've seen people say there's a lot of input lag when you do it that way, and I've seen people say, "Oh, no, that's crazy, there's no input lag at all."
yeah,
But I honestly felt it felt very floaty to me when I was playing. And Mega Man's already a little floaty,
yeah,
but when I was playing it on the Switch, it felt real floaty. It made jumps really hard to hit. I felt like I jumped when I walked off of edges, things like that. So I thought there was input lag, but I mean, it might just be me thinking about it, wanting to have an excuse as to why I'm bad. I beat this game 3 times in the past 24 hours.
which is
Once
amazing.
Yes, I beat it once with turbo, once without turbo, and then I played it again this morning just to see if, like, that was the issue.
Hmm.
I didn't do as bad the first time I did it with turbo, but I did worse than I played it without the turbo turned on. So I don't know if that really made a difference. I feel like it did, but, I'm not too sure. But with the way the stages are designed, how precise to be, enemy placements, I want to like Mega Man 1,
Hmm.
but I don't. Like, I think it's a very mediocre to average game. Now, the
Yeah,
other games in the series, very good, or at least in my mind, they're very good because I guess I'm going off memory right now. But Mega Man 1, just to me, it doesn't hold up to how I remember it being.
yeah. It's definitely a little rough around the edges. It's something where, compared to much later entries in the series, you have to kind of dig for stuff that you liked about the game. Because I probably have more complaints than I do accolades for this game. But I don't know. For the CPU thing, is it on by default for when you were playing it on Legacy Collection? Because mine was never turned on. I had to manually go in and turn it on. I didn't see a difference between the two, but
On the Switch, it's on by default.
that's strange. I wonder if it's like a portable mode thing, but they should have more than enough horsepower to handle an NES game.
And, now that you mentioned portable mode, it kinda makes me think too, maybe some of my issue is with the controls on the Switch too, because I don't have like a regular D-pad. I just have those. I was playing it in handheld mode,
Mhm.
so I don't have a D-pad. I've just got the little buttons on the left Joy-Con. So I mean, that might have been part of my issue. I'm not too sure. And I also think like Joy-Con drift might have hurt me at one point
Really?
because yeah, on Wily Stage 3, the one where you fight Cutman
Yeah.
and Electroman. Um, I jumped down to get a little health icon, and I didn't push anything, but I walked left off the edge. So I know my Joy-Cons drift left, so I don't know if that was the issue.
Mhm.
I wasn't using the Joy-Cons, but Mega Man walked left and died, so, you know,
That sounds
added
like a drift issue.
yeah, added to my frustration.
Well, one thing to kind of keep in mind, I know it's easy to dunk on this game in retrospect after we've already played much better games in the series, but putting yourself in 1987, you got to think about the kind of company you had with your NES releases. Sure, you had greats like Castlevania, Legend of Zelda, Arkanoid, Goonies 2, but you also had a bunch of stinkers like Super Pitfall, Karate Kid, Top Gun, Wizard Warriors, Mike Tyson's Punch. I'm kidding on that one.
Excuse me,
So,
Karate Kid.
but yeah, when this came out, it was a probably a breath of fresh air for a lot of folks that just wanted something good comparatively, based on what else they had been playing throughout the year. 1987 seems to be a pretty slow year in general for the system, but I think it's personally a nice end cap. While I didn't really, I don't know, it's kind of hard to be unbiased about this because your first playthrough is always going to be the worst one, and there are parts of it that I still think are a little bit unfair, like the Wily stages for sure. But I don't know. I still, in the end, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go over what I like about it first, and I think this is probably what something we can agree on for the most part. First off, the music. I mean, it's a Capcom game. It's a Mega Man game, so those two things right then and there, even if it is the first entry, you know you're gonna get a good soundtrack. For me, my standouts were Elect Man, Cut Man, and Heat Man. A lot of the other ones aren't necessarily bad, but they're just kind of either mediocre or too short. Like the loops are very short.
Or you hear it over and over again, like in Iceman stage with that.
Oh yeah, I don't like that sound effect for the reappearing blocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great. Uh, so yeah, great music, great sound design in general, minus the blocks, and there was one other sound that really kind of drove me up the wall. I can't remember what it was.
Better not be the lemons.
No, not the lemons. Never the lemons. The graphics are great. It's while the stage design is kind of basic. There's not a whole lot of detail. Uh, I think for what they were trying to achieve, it looks good. Like colors pop. Mega Man, of course, looks great. He's very expressive for a game like that came out this far back. That's one thing I think that should really be praised for because because you look at other stuff that came out before then, they didn't really have as much to work with. But his face is huge compared to like
Yeah.
Mario or Link or Simon. Simon doesn't even have a face; he just has a blob.
Yeah, and it's 1987, so that, like they're incredibly limited on what they can do with the amount of space that they have for the character designs. So it's amazing how like you said, expressive Mega Man can be.
Also cool was getting the different weapons and having the different Mega Man change colors as you use different weapons.
I do have a complaint about that.
You do have a complaint about that. The weapons
Not
themselves are
not the weapons, but after bosses are killed, you can still be killed before you pick up the little orb that you need to
oh
grab.
yeah. I think this is the only Mega Man game where they do that.
It happened to me. It happened to me.
But yeah, bright, colorful, cheerful, unique designs for the characters and enemies. I mean, overall, I think it is a good looking game, but the stage design is probably the weakest part of the graphics for me.
Yeah, well, are you talking about like the background palettes for the different boards on the stages, or are you talking about the level design itself?
The backgrounds, which it's probably not really fair to criticize it. It is the first game in the series, but you look at something like, again, for instance, Castlevania came out in the same year, and while a lot of those backgrounds were very chaotic with the tiles and whatnot, it had a lot of unique stuff. A lot more felt a lot more detailed anyway.
So, what did you think about the level design, Alex?
In general, I don't think it's bad, but it's not good. It's just kind of middle of the road for me. If it's not good, it's mediocre, and if it's not, it's more mediocre than bad. I feel there are a couple of choke points, like the footholders. Those are the flying platforms on Iceman stage that also shoot at you. That's my least favorite part of the game by far. Only because if whenever you try to jump at them, which they're already very easily getting out of sync if you wait too long, if they hit you and you land on the platform right as you get hit, which honestly happened to me a lot more than I would like to admit. Yeah, it did. You will just fall right through. I think like I'd say at least 4 times out of 10. It's very frequent.
So, to paint a picture of the area that Alex is describing, this is on Iceman stage. First, you have to do a floating block puzzle to go to your next screen. Then you have to do another floating block puzzle to get to those shooting platforms. As Alex said, those shooting platforms are above nothing.
Yeah,
Like a just you fall into a pit, you die.
yeah,
If you get shot off, you fall, you die. Um, you have to go across 4 of them, then you have to go across another 4. The second time you're going around, though, there are, like, flying penguins that act like the Medusa heads in Castlevania, so you have to watch out for those too.
yeah.
It is not I I hated it so much. I think that's where the majority of my frustration came the first time I was playing. Again, I was playing on the with the turbo thing turned on. I felt like when I played the second time without the turbo, I could definitely feel a difference in the platform the way the platforms the block platforms, the way they
Mhm.
kind of disappeared and reappeared. I could feel a timing difference between the 2 of those 2, so that kinda threw me off when I played it a second time on original. But that was if you die, you have to redo the 2 floating block puzzles too. It doesn't, like, start you at those floating platforms that shoot at you. It's not a good not a good I think that was my least favorite level in the entire game.
I'd be inclined to agree with you. I can't think of any others. Like, sure, the platform moving platform section in Gutsman is kind of annoying, but really after your first playthrough, that's more just a timing thing. It's not that bad. So Iceman would probably be my least favorite. I'm gonna say something else about the Iceman stage. Oh no, I was gonna say that this stage is only a problem if you go to Iceman after Elect Man and don't have the sorry, if you go to Iceman before Elect Man and don't have the Magnet Beam, Magnet Gun. I could not find a name for this item. Even looking in the official database for this in the Legacy Collection, I have no idea what it's called, but the platform gun thing. And yeah, that just trivializes the entire thing.
You know what? I didn't even think about using it in that section. I didn't think at all to try to use that.
Oh, you went to Iceman after Elect Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. But
Well, Iceman's weak to Elect Man, right?
yeah, but I just try to make sure to go to Elect Man after Guts Man.
Can we talk about Elect Man stage real quick?
Sure, we can talk about Elect Man stage.
So on Elect Man stage, there is a section where you need a weapon from a previous boss in order to get what Alex was calling the magnet gun, the platform gun.
Yeah,
You need his weapon in order to pick up some blocks, throw them, so you can grab that weapon. You might think it'd be something that's optional. You don't really need it. No, you do need it because later in the game, there's a section in one of the Wily stages where you can't get through it unless you have it.
the very first Wily stage, actually.
Hmm. So I really hate that that you there's something that's kind of hidden there that you can just pass up and get stuck later in the game where you have to, oh, well, I guess I have to kill myself and I have to go back to Elect Man stage and get the weapon. But that's not the only thing that really issue that bothered me about this. There's a section in the level where you're given two different ladders, one on the left, one on the right. They're
Yeah.
both leading up. They're both going to take you to the same spot. But if you take the right side up, once you get to the very end of that, you need to have the platform weapon and Gutsman's weapon in order to move forward there. So you could just go all the way up that way. There's nothing to indicate that you would need these as you're going up the right ladder. But as you're going up there, if you, I think it's like 3 screens that you have to go through. Once you get to that last screen, you get those blocks. Oh, well, I don't have Gutsman. I guess I have to go all the way back down and then go up the left side. I really hate that. That's just, I don't think that's like NES hard. I think that's just poor design. At least have not having anything to indicate that you would need to have these weapons in order to go up that way.
Right. There weren't any reappearing blocks because I know there's a part earlier in the stage, but I think that's no,
That's
no.
before this area.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hmm. I always just took the left side because I didn't like getting boxed in with the beams and the guys that float down and shoot two beams at you. I just did not like that part. I always go left. Always go left.
Well, see, with me, I was playing it kind of blind. Well, I don't want to say blind, but it had been like 10 years since I had last played it. So
Basically blind.
basically blind, yeah. So I went left, but I mean, I didn't know to go left. I could have easily chosen to go right. If I had done that, I'd been like, oh well, oh geez, I guess guess I'm not guess I gotta go back down.
Guess you're gonna get bent. That's the moral of that
Mhm.
story. At
Mhm.
least while you're suffering, you get one of the best tunes in the game. It has a very short loop, like most tracks, but that's definitely one of my favorite tracks in the game. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba.
I do have to admit it is a bop.
It's a certified slapper. But while the stage design itself isn't the greatest, one thing I do want to give this game some credit for is the length. Once you know what you're doing, and even, well, mostly once you know what you're doing, it's a pretty short game. So if for some reason you want to go back to this and replay it, which just by virtue of being able to go to any stage order you want, there's a lot of replayability right there. The length is a nice and easy. Well, not nice and easy, nice and short. If you just want to take an evening, maybe try a different path that you haven't done before, or go like all buster, or just some sort of challenge run, whatever, you can sit down and do it relatively quickly. Versus some of the later entries, they just tend to feel long and drawn out, and they kind of overstay their welcome. Especially, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. Mega Man 3 with the I forget what they're called, the Doc Robot stages, I think, where they have like the clone robots that have spirits or data from the Mega Man 2 bosses put into them. I just didn't like that bit of the game. It just felt, I don't want to say pointless, but it didn't feel like it added anything to the game for me personally. And of course, with other games like 4, I think 4, 5, and 6 all had 2 castles. The whatever doctor or villain Wily had control over their castle, and then the real Wily castle before you beat the game. So its brevity shouldn't be it goes underappreciated, or goes unappreciated, I think.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, I beat the game twice last night, and then I was able to beat the game again this morning just to see if like it was turbo or not that was messing me up. I do appreciate how short this game was. I was able to beat it in, I don't know, maybe like 40, 45 minutes this morning. So I like, that's my kind of game. Pick it up, beat it under an hour, good to go.
Yeah. Whereas a lot of the later games, you're taking at least unless you're a speedrunner, of course, at least an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. Just they got a little bit too long later on. But sorry, go ahead, Hippo.
So Alex, let's talk Wily stages. What do you think of the Wily stages here?
Kind of weak. There's the first one, which is already a potential source of frustration, because if you don't get that very optional
Easy to
item,
miss.
easy to miss, sorry,
Hmm.
item in the Luckman stage, you just have no idea what's going on. Like, is there a platform I'm waiting for? Are there reappearing blocks that need to show up? Is there like you just have no idea. They don't really telegraph in a way that you need to get that item from a Luckman stage, because a lot of games before now, sure, you might have Zelda where it's an adventure, and it's the goal is to kind of explore and find out what to do. This is a platformer. You go from left to right or up or down or whatever, and get to the end of the stage. So you don't really think of backtracking in the sense of other games, other types of games. So that's annoying. There's one that's just a hallway. Like you go down for a couple screens and it's just literally one long tunnel, like a sewer tunnel, and then you fight a boss. And the very last one, I don't know. I did not like the Wily stages. Honestly, I think the Wily stages might be the weakest point of the game for me. Also, one other thing, those is it Wily 1? Might be Wily 2, whichever one you fight the first round of Robot Masters. Those guys that come up out of the pits and explode into like 4 or 5 pellets. Those were the bane of my existence on my first playthrough. They ended my life so many times. Hated it. Absolutely hated it.
So luckily on those, they didn't kill me, but they always left me with like only 4 pips of health left.
Hmm.
So every single time, like after I got through that section, I was like, I gotta do these sections perfectly. I hope these little eyeball boys don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Right after that spot there's a section where there are a bunch of eyeball like enemies that'll fly across the screen in like a straight direction. It's always the same pattern. So I mean it's easy not to get hit by them, but it's just like going to them without having any health just kind of leads to a little bit of panic. Get that adrenaline running.
Yeah, they make sure you're awake. And the name of those, I call them pit bastards, but their actual name are bomb amams. It's like you're trying to say bomb, but there's an extra am in there, so it doesn't really roll off the tongue. So I call them pit bastards.
Knockoff bombs.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the Walmart brand.
but the biggest problem with the Wily stages, they have the Robot Master rematches sprinkled throughout. So you have, I think, 3 on the first go, or no, 2 on the first go, and then the last 4 before Wily. They don't give you any energy drops. Every game after this, it just goes to show they understood how this was frustrating. But every game after this gave you health after you fought a robot rematch. But
Now, I will say, with the way that the game has it set up for the Robot Masters before the Wily fight, it actually like had me stop and like try to learn the different. Well, I don't want to say different patterns, but actually develop a strategy rather than I have weakness, shoot this guy.
mhm.
Um, so like I learned to like kind of space out my shots a little bit going up against Bomb Man and fly by the seat of my pants still going up against Flame Man. And
Heat
then
Man
I
is the
I
worst.
I actually learned how to beat Gutsman without getting hit because by the time I got down to Gutsman, I would have maybe like 4 or 8 pips of health. So I would have maybe one or no hits to spare to beat him.
Wow, that sounds rough. When I was a bit of a scumbag replaying this for the cast, I hate to admit this, but I brazenly abused the rewind and save state features just because I figured I've already played through this a few times before, as recently as 2 years ago when I did a whole month of Mega Man in May. I'll just go ahead and rewind, and I ended up rewinding a lot that might have actually affected my perspective of the game a little bit. I don't want to admit it, but yeah, I did it. So whenever I
It's
got to the rematches, at least the final couple, I ended up just rewinding until I I had a good amount of health going up
See,
on Wily.
I knew I had that rewind feature that I could use, but
Mm,
I didn't want to use it because I wanted to play the game how it was intended to be played,
yeah.
aside from the Yellow Devil. But
Aside from Yellow Devil, he's the
yeah,
only one that gets the exception.
yes, he's the only one that gets the exception. But that I think that's where the majority of my frustration came because I wasn't trying to rewind when I fell into traps or whatever. I think I continued on Iceman stage the first time I played it about 10 times the first time I was going through. And then excuse me, I finally got to Iceman and it turns out I didn't have his weakness. So once he killed me, I was just like, well, I guess I'm going to another stage now because I don't want to see this one ever again.
Yeah, I can't blame you for that. And really, you wouldn't think that he'd be weak to to Elect Man, you think he'd be weak to Heat Man, but game is kind of weird like that.
Yeah, I mean, I I could have used that rewind feature, but I just wanted to be able to play it and, like, if I had played it back on the like, if I had picked up the Nintendo and I played it, I wanted to be able to play it that way, and I wanted to if I was frustrated in with one thing there, I wanted to be frustrated with this playthrough because I wanted it to feel like I was playing the original game,
I can
even though I
respect
was on
that.
turbo mode.
I can respect that. I mean, the first time I played this game was back on the original Wii on the Virtual Console. I thought, oh man, I love Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 6 and of course the X series. Let me see where it all began. I want to check this game out. I had also played Powered Up, the PSP remake, so I figured let me see where it all began. Having a decent time. Some parts were frustrating. Then I got to Wily, and that bit in the Wily stages again with the pit bastards. That made me rage. I actually rage quit then. Didn't finish it for a few years at least. I was very annoyed.
I'll tell you, the first time I played it on the Legacy Collection, also rage quit, but it was on the first level that I went to, which was Gutsman stage.
Mhm.
And in Gutsman stage, if you're not familiar, the very beginning there's some moving platforms, and they have spots where they'll drop you off. Well, the controls for Mega Man One are very floaty, as I said, and you have to when you think that it's gonna fall, it falls just a little bit earlier, and it took a moment for me to actually get used to it. I rage quit that first. I'm not even ashamed to admit it. Just going through that, going to Gutsman's level, and then dying immediately. I did it like 3 times, and I was like, "Nope, play Mega Man 2."
Yep, that's a good palate cleanser.
Mhm.
Once you clear it the first time, it's not as bad later on. Something about the controls for this game. The only thing that really felt off to me was the landing. Something about how he lands. It feels like there's more of a slide to his. He doesn't stop as early as I'm used to as the later entries. It
Yeah,
feels slightly off.
I found myself, like, doing a little hop after jumping just so I could, like, stop myself and make sure I landed in the spot that I wanted to be in.
Mhm. Hey, at least you have the good graces of being able to change your direction midair, unlike Porus or Arthur or Simon or a lot of other action adventure heroes in this era.
A lot of the other bad Nintendo games.
Well, Castlevania is not a bad game, but maybe a discussion for another podcast.
Possibly, I do think so, it might be.
But I mean, while some parts of the controls do feel just ever so slightly off, the game does in general does feel very good. Again, if you compare it to other titles, it's a good feeling game. Something about running and jumping and shooting, being a jump and shoot man, it feels good. It's responsive, and the expressiveness of the guy, like he opens his mouth when he jumps, like yeah, it feels good. I Complaints aside, it still feels good.
I disagree with it being very responsive. I do think it's very floaty. But in that sense, I don't think Mega Man is a bad game. I think it's mediocre to average, at least the original, but I don't think it's bad. It's playable. Um, Level design is like you said, music is banging. I think it's okay. I think it gets like an okay pass from me.
I don't know. I like it a little bit more than okay. It's not that much more, but I still had fun with it, and it's hard to hate on it too much considering what it started, what it ended up giving us in return over so many decades. At this point, it feels weird to say, and really just the concept itself is kind of hard to hate on. You beat a boss and you get to use his weapon. Like you never really got that before. And not only that, but you get different colors whenever you use a different weapon. That's pretty cool too, huh? Granted, most of the weapons were kind of boring. You use Elect Man at most of the time. Elect Man or Elect Charge, whatever it's called, might as well be the metal blade of this game.
So, Alex, do you think it's time to give this game our ratings?
I think I might have gone for most of my. Oh yeah, one last thing on difficulty: the Dr. Wily fight, for all the shit that you go through before him, especially with those robot rematches right before, he is ridiculously easy. Like I was honestly let down when I got to him. At least when you know the weakness.
I wasn't let down by it. I was actually very relieved after the hell that I went through to get to him. I was just so happy to be done with the game.
You
So
weren't you weren't
I
cheating, so
I appreciated his easy fight.
yeah. I guess since I was cheating and rewinding and whatnot, I would be a little bit more disappointed. Too many hockey pucks. That was my other main complaint about the game.
Hockey pucks are what Alex is referring to. There are some enemies that are can't be killed by your buster. They're on the ground. They move at a slow pace, but once you are on the same level as them, they kind of speed up and they're annoying as heck. But once you get like a special weapon, like elect man's weapon or cut man or bomb man, you're able to kill them and take them out easy. But like if you're going like if you go straight to elect man stage,
Good luck.
yeah, good luck. You have so many platforms you got to hit, but with the hockey pucks stopping you.
Do you remember what their name is?
Yeah, hockey pucks.
No, they're called Gabiols. Gibiols. I don't know
Yeah,
how.
hockey pucks.
I don't know what the actual pronunciation is. I'm sure that something was lost in translation.
Can you spell it for me, Alex?
Gabyol.
Ah, I got it. It's hockey puck.
Gabiol. Little floor bastards or hockey pucks. Yeah, that they were just used too frequently. They didn't really pose any challenge, at least any fun challenge. It was just an annoyance. But
So,
throwing it into the rating machine, I want to hear what you would give it first, actually.
so with all my complaints, I still think the game itself is pretty solid. I don't think it's good. I would give it a 5 out of 10. 5 isn't a bad score. 5 is very average. I don't think it should get any higher than that just based on all the trouble I had with the game. Like all the trouble I had with the game, I don't think I could give it higher than I could in good conscience give it a higher score than that 5 out of 10.
Wow. I mean, that is middle of the road, and I'm not gonna hate on you for doing that, but I would be closer to more 7 out of 10
Mhm.
personally. I mean, there are things that obviously I didn't like about it, but the things that I do enjoy about it, and just like the overall concept and the groundwork that it lays out, I think outweighs all the bad, at least as far as not getting a worser score.
That's fair. That's fair. And once we play other Mega Man games, if we do play other Mega Man games, you're definitely going to see higher scores for me. It's just all the trouble I had with this game, all the frustration I had with the game. I don't want to say it's trouble because it makes it sound like it's my fault, but all the frustration that I had with the game, just like different things happening, and just it was so frustrating. I can I will admit I said I hate this freaking game several times out loud when I played it when I played it that first time.
That's kind of a catch-all for me whenever I'm incredibly frustrated with something that I'm playing. Like, man, this shit sucks, or this is poopy, or whatever. It's a mantra for sure whenever I'm mad.
Hmm.
Have you played all of the mainline entries in this game? Like just 1 through 11?
No, I've played 1 through which one was Splash Woman in?
That's 9.
I think I've played 1 through 9. I think I started 10, but I never beat it.
You can kind of get a pass on 10. 10 didn't really need to exist. And I'm
And
assuming
I didn't know there was an 11.
it came out 2 years ago.
Well, I'm an old man. Cut me
Yeah.
some slack.
You're doing actual adult things. That's fair. So out of the ones if you played 1 through 9, for all intents and purposes, I would say that that's good enough. Is this your least favorite Mega Man game from what you can?
100%.
Wow.
100%. Yep.
Honestly, it's not my least favorite. That would probably still go to either 5 or 7, and 7 probably just because not to get too nitty gritty here, but that Wily fight. That it's amazing how much one part of a game can just completely sour something for me, or for just in general. But that fight pretty much ruined Mega Man 7 for me. Didn't like that one.
Just play it with rewind.
Yeah, maybe, but it's still a bullshit fight.
All right, Alex. So I guess that's it for Mega Man. What do you think we're going to be playing next week? Have you come up with anything there yet, brother?
We were talking about this yesterday. Definitely not looking back at the chat log to make a last minute decision. We go on retro, or we want to stay current?
We can do current. I think you mentioned V.
There's only 6 Vs, and I never know what to call this, but I looked it up yesterday. Apparently, the official pronunciation for this game is the letter V 6 times. That's what the game is called.
The letter V 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that might be what we've got for. I said next week earlier. It's not next week, but it's going to be the week after. So that looks like it's going to be August 8th.
August 8th. Yep. Not next Saturday, but the Saturday afterwards. We are going to. I'm going to try my damnedest to commit to a bi-weekly release schedule for this. I want to get more stuff out. I want to record more. So hopefully this will stick better than boring gaming news. Ugh, who wants to talk about gaming news?
What's a video game?
I don't know.
So, and just as we're moving forward, just kind of want to let everyone know that I'm more of a casual gamer than Alex is. So, Alex mentioned earlier in the podcast that I some of us might not finish games. Most likely, that someone who doesn't finish the game will be me. Sometimes I just won't have the time to finish it. Sometimes I'll get frustrated if I'm playing a game and I absolutely hate it and I just don't want to play it. I mean, I feel like that's very fair to bring to the podcast, and I'd give the reasons why. So if that ever happens, I won't complete the game, but I'll definitely come into the podcast stating my reasons why I didn't complete the game.
Well, this next game is only 2 hours long, if that. So you've got 2 weeks to play a 2 hour long game. I think you can set aside 5 minutes a day to.
Ooh, that's a rough one, brother.
That's a rough one. All right, then episode 3 will be Witcher 3. See how you feel after that.
Oh yeah, I got that one, no problem. Speedrun it, beat it in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, in the end, or to sum things up, Mega Man, I still say good game. Horrible box art. If you're watching this live, see it right there. That's
the best thing about the game.
It is a war crime. It violates at least 17 parts of the Geneva Convention. I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, Mega Man good. It set the groundwork for an amazing franchise that is one of my, if not my favorite, definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, I'm thankful for what it did. Warts and all.
Mega Man OK set the groundwork for a wonderful franchise, and I thank it for what it did in 1987.
In 1987, a decently stacked year otherwise, but I think a nice end cap. Cap off. End cap is end cap only.
That's a grocery store.
I should know that. I work at one. I was just trying to like a nightcap to the year, a good end to the year, whatever. Anyways, we should go before Alex starts saying more stupid shit. We'll see you guys on August 8th for our discussion on The Letter V 6 Times by Terry Kavanaugh. One of my favorite indie games personally. So I'm looking forward to what Hippo has to say about this. You better finish it, Hippo.
I have no idea what it is, but I will definitely play the heck out of it.
And we'll see you then. Where can we find you, Mr. Hippo?
You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/hippo_pat_miss hippopotamus. I stream once every few thousand years, so come check me out.
Yeah, you should definitely give him a check out. You can find me here at twitch.tv/AlexTheRed. I'm also on Twitter as AlexTheRed. Red has 2 Ds on there. I think that about does it for stuff we need to pimp out. You ready to go, Hippo?
I think I'm ready to go, brother.
All right, thanks for talking with me about one of, well, I can't say one of my favorite games, but a good game. Start off with. Thanks for being here, Hippo.
No problem. Glad to have played a game with you.
A game that's as good as it'll get, as Mega Man will get from him. And thank you all for listening. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask if you go out, please. And just have a good one. Peace.
Take care, everyone. Bye.